Thank you for coming.
Malgré la rigueur du climat,
in spite of the high temperatures,
pour que je puisse, au travers de vous, expliquer aux Français les raisons
so that through you
que
I
j'ai
can explain to the French the reasons I've chosen not to be part of the upcoming government.
le ministère de la Justice dont j'avais la charge.
The Justice Ministry was an exciting job that I held. I discovered and got to know exceptional people. I brought forward a law that was to me, whose purpose is to give sure rules to public life, moralizing it in all areas, to reestablish the citizens' trust in our democracy. We crafted this draft bill in 3 weeks' time. It was publicly well received. That shows that we'd set our sights high, and it shows that it was innovative and realistic in all the things that were announced. The draft bill was passed on June 14th. But at the same time, and I can imagine it was by chance, a campaign began based on anonymous denunciations trying to accuse the modem of setting up a system of fake jobs. We have never had any fake jobs. Everyone who's worked at the modem had a job contract and payslip. This will be easy to prove. And I have absolute trust in the justice system to provide that evidence and prove that. I have no doubt, though my name has never been mentioned in the probe, and that's correct. I have no doubt whatsoever that I was the actual target of these denunciations. The purpose was to reduce the credibility of the minister who was to bring forward the draft legislation. There are various powers for whom moralization of public life would be an obstacle to their lobby and their influence. In a classic situation, a regular situation, a usual situation, it would have been easy for me to defend the movement that I preside over, and at the same time defend my friends, whom I know through experience are absolutely beyond reproach. We have all the facts, the evidence, the legal exhibits to put together this defense. Managing human resources in our movement was done in a regular legal fashion, and I can say was also moral. But my current situation, due to my position as Minister of Justice, was such that the only person in France who was unable to defend himself from slander and defamation was the Minister of Justice. The only one who had to remain silent, even in the face of injustice. If he were to say we're innocent, people would be saying he was trying to influence the judges and the investigating magistrates as well. Some saying that they are subservient to the Minister of Justice. In public life where there's constant disturbances, this means you're making someone hold his two hands behind his back. A comment made privately, even something moderate and entirely justified regarding some methods of journalism, immediately are viewed as trying to exert pressure or denounced, as though it is a one-way street, the ability to criticize. And you have to just be subjected to practices without being able to state your disagreement. I cannot accept the lack of freedom of speech. I can't accept silence when my honor is being questioned, my movement's honor. You see, honor, decency, standing upright. Every single day we see that seems to be losing value in French political discourse, but these aren't just empty words, to my mind. In addition to that, this situation would be exposing the government and the French president. You can well imagine the debate beginning of the parliament was going to end up becoming meaningless. And yet we're talking about a piece of legislation that's very important to me, that I contributed a great deal to. And as it so happens, I attach greater importance to the objective in mind, to the endeavor we have at hand, than my privilege and my rank. So I draw the requisite conclusions. I opted for freedom of judgment and freedom of speech. I opt to preserve the bill on moralization and confidence in democracy. I choose to not expose to lying campaigns this government and the President of France, whom I support. Two things need to be mentioned. I say it as I think it. We cannot live in a society where there's constant denunciation going on. France, at other times in the past, unfortunately, was a country of anonymous letters. Apparently, the largest number are written here than anywhere else in Europe, denouncing neighbors whom one envied. We've moved into a new era, a new phase. Denunciation now is taking place in social networks, through the press. Justice has to work on these. Investigations can be started and are almost viewed as preliminary sentencing. And this crazy machinery begins. So the most normal and small-scale action through this sort of magnifying glass seems suspicious, and all of you know very well there's not one single human life that would stand up to this type of inquisition. So, with this in mind, and with this going on, democracy will not resist, and this is a big question for our society. People interested in history realize that this was a major question for Greece in antiquity. They had to take severe measures of fines and deprivation of civil rights when there were professionals whose job it was to denounce. And you may remember, these were called the sycophants. Anonymous denunciation, which is unfounded, then put into the social networks, justice media, can lead to such waves. How can you defend yourself from this type of wave? For the time being, there is no defense. And I think this question should well be looked into. I understand full well that at the same time, there's a question of protecting whistleblowers. This is a debate I participated in a great deal, and I feel we must protect whistleblowers, but I'd also like to say whistleblowers, under some laws, are defined first and foremost as people who would not be involved in some sort of conflict of interest. In this particular matter we're talking about, there's a clear conflict of interest. Whistleblowers, some of them have been put out of their movements, and others have begun moving for political adversaries. No one's carefully analyzing these accusations. No one's distinguishing them, and this is a problem for democracy. A second point I'd like to make. I also have a political concern. The Modem party, with its personality and its freedom, henceforth is the second party in the majority, the third group in the National Assembly. And you'll see in this room a substantial number, several dozens of people who will comprise the Modem group that met for the first time this afternoon at the Parliament. My belief is that we need to put together all efforts during this time to assist the new president. My belief is that the election of Emmanuel Macron is a great chance and opportunity for this country, for Europe, and for the balance of the world. I am certain he is up to the task. He needs a broad majority, and a majority where pluralism is reality. Two pillars for the majority, and there's a reason for this. Each of the two pillars needs to be part of the process. Each of them needs to make its contribution, new movements as well as others. We will provide stability. We will sense the emotions, the expectations of our society. We will propose ideas. We will defend ideas. For instance, the principle of respecting citizens and pluralism and proportional voting in the electoral process. I'll say this, we and I will be at the side of the President of the French Republic to assist him and to support him, loyal to a political agreement and personal agreement. And I will say to you, I attach great importance to this. The decision that we're taking the day when our movement's new group is meeting for the first time at the National Assembly is a decision I've done to serve a certain disinterested idea of politics, to serve the new majority in its support of the president, and to serve an idea, as high an idea as possible, of honor, freedom of judgment and speech, and an idea of responsibility. Lastly, to say to you, this day, which is not only a day of joy, nevertheless does entail a positive aspect for me. Over these months, once again, I'll be the mayor of Po, a magnificent magic city, and my fellow citizens, who are wonderful people, sometimes quite demanding, but always very, very nice. Thank you very much.